Beep, 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 beep. Morning, all this new and approved from the Chester News Arts of Gravy. Right, look what I've had to do to my blinds to get rid of the glow. The glow is so bad today, I look like, some 30s star. Right, okay, but interesting, we've got more on this NHS thing, so it's worth following this stuff, see, because it's all good. We're getting lovely, lovely, lovely lots of information from different people from different disciplines who are able to provide us with different angles through which to view this. So that's always interesting, right? Okay, so what I've got today that I want to have a quick look at before I go to work is from SEGM, SEGM.org, which is I believe, a group of people who are interested in the provision of science-driven evidence, science evidence in gender medicine. So I'll put the link in the doobers as usual, down in the description. I'll say the usual things. Please join my Patreon, buy me a beer, or better still, become a warrior teacher. We've got a big meeting tonight, and there's lots of people who are supposed to be coming. I don't know how many people are going to be there. But it looks like we're all out of places, so that's it. We'll see who turns up. You'll invite 20 and you get 8, but we'll see. So we'll see who turns up tonight to see. Just get an overview from me about what it's about and see how soon we can get more folks started on this program, which is designed to help you fight back against this nonsense. Activists, assemble. I'm very excited about it, actually. I'm very excited to speak to everybody. So, SEGM have come up with this wonderful, wonderful explanation, again in the Dubras, of what's going on. So just to give you a quick overview of their overview, effectively, they're talking about the need for a psychoeducation and psychotherapy approach. Now, psychoeducation, I don't even know what that means. I think, as I said before, I think most of this is, many of the people that are involved in this have an intellectual problem. That may be what is in psychoeducation, though I'm bothered about education getting so close to a counselling service. The fact that puberty blockers will only be delivered in research protocol settings. That's the end, essentially, okay? The reason this is happening because of scarce and inconclusive evidence, operational failures on behalf of the original providers of the gender service, and the recognition of the dangers of social transition as a form of psychosocial intervention. Not a neutral act. This is very important, not a neutral act. So it would only be pursued, they say here, to alleviate or prevent clinically significant distress. Clinically significant distress. That's real. That's high-end gatekeeping. Yes. Save the gay kids. Yes, right. Okay, so it's all good news. You know what my problem is with it? My problem remains with it, is that I don't even want to use the language. We have to take back the ontological production of knowledge, the ontological and linguistic ground. We have to take it back. So we've got to stop using this language and point it out for what it is, which is the doctrines of a cult. Right? If you teach kids about whatever it may be, and you tell them, well, actually, that's the language used by those particular group of people, they'll understand that. And then you separate them out from the rest of society and do what we should have done with them in the first place, is shame them into silence. So they've given us a sort of blow-by-blow quick description of what this actually means in real terms. There's a couple of things that I want to pull out of it. So let's start from the very beginning and go with their first piece of encouraging observation, which is that what this essentially does, it eliminates the gender clinic model of care and does away with affirmation. They're not wrong, right? It does away. What it does is it's seen solely to be the purview of specialist gender practitioners, which is what would have happened before. Now we're replacing it with standard care that you would expect from any children's hospital. Means we're getting the cuckoo quackers out, doesn't it? Means they're getting them out, right? So we're getting rid of the quacker cuckoos. Off they go, the nutcases. That's the first main point. Rather than affirming a transgender identity of young persons, staff are encouraged to maintain a broad clinical perspective and to embed the care of children and young people with gender uncertainty within a broader child and adolescent health context. Now, I'm pleased about that. I'm not pleased that they're not saying exactly what the truth is about gender. I've told you about this before. I've exposed myself. God, no! We've had enough people doing that in the last week or two. I've explained myself on this one before. We need to tell them the history first, right? Here's what this is about. Here's why you're part of this. So it says affirmation has been largely eliminated from language and the approach. It then says assessment should be respectful of the experience of the child or young person and be developmentally informed. That's difficult, isn't it? They're a child. You know, so it's a bit difficult. Respectful of the experience of the child. Well, you should take into account what the child thinks they've experienced or are experiencing. But we have to be very careful, as was said by Keir Starmer the other day, that what we're not talking about is what the child wants rather than what the child needs. And I imagine it's in here, I think. Medical transition services will only be available through a centralised specialty service, established for higher risk cases only. And even then they won't get cleared. What SEGM is saying here, that the medical transition pathway is over. I couldn't be happier. It says here, treatment pathway will be shaped, among other things, by the clarity, persistence and consistency of gender incongruence. Yep, I got a problem with that, but I would, wouldn't I? Because they're using the word gender incongruence. They need to stop doing it, right, okay? It's a delusion. Right, it's a delusion. They look in the mirror, they see something that's not there. Like anorexics, right? So it's a delusion. And they shouldn't be using the word gender. It's not gender incongruence, it's sex incongruence. This is where I get worried, that's all. But it's important, because that's how they got this far. I wish people would get this. Right? We need to take back the ideological ground on this, the ontological and linguistic fields of glory that we must return to us and not them. Care plans will be specific. That I'm really glad to hear about that. They're going to then, part 2, here it is, the cold. Go away. Part 2 classifies social gender transition as an active intervention eligible for informed consent. The NHS is strongly encouraging social gender transition in pre-pubertal children. No, you need to extend that. Right, you need to extend it because our schools are filled with hard left queer theory identitarian teachers teaching this crap. You need to stop this altogether. It's the wishy-washy will try and keep them happy bit. Is that what it is? Am I wrong about this again? In order for an adolescent to transition socially, again, we're sticking to the social, diagnosis of persistent and consistent gender dysphoria. Sex dysphoria, right? And persistent and consistent? That's got to be over a period of years. Maybe it's in here. Maybe I'm just being a miserable old, are we really there? Maybe I'm in denial about the fact that we've got some real movement here. And I'm sort of like going, is it? What am I going to do now? There's loads to do. Don't worry. There's plenty to do yet. And there must be a clear and full understanding of the implication of social transition. Oh, I want to write that section. A determination of medical necessity of social transition to alleviate or prevent clinically significant stress or impairment in social functioning. All adolescents need to provide informed consent to social gender transition. And again, they're using the word gender. Change it. Social transition being something that will require informed consent. That's very interesting. I hope they're going to stick to the idea of informed consent and enforce it fully. Part 3 establishes psychotherapy and psychoeducation as the first and primary line of treatment. It shouldn't be the first and primary line of treatment. The first and primary line of treatment should be no from the parent, no from the school, and exposure to people that can tell them the truth about what this is. Now, I'm going to assume, because they mean in psychoeducation. What's psychoeducation? Stop it. Right? It's all medicalising everything. Right? Psychoeducation. I might have that wrong again. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I'm just waffling today. Psychoeducation, right? It's a local treatment team. A treatment team that does psychoeducation. Right? You don't need a treatment team to do good education. What you need is a determined teacher, the Socratic method, the gravitas to make kids scared of you, and away we go. Right? That's how it works. Therapeutic exploration, not only if it doesn't include the language. And addressing the broader range of medical conditions in addition to gender dysphoria. Gender dysphoria, it actually isn't really a thing if we're going to take the language out of it, which is what we need to do, get this damned language out. Anyway, number 4, sharply curbs medical interventions and confines puberty blockers to research-only settings, which is fairly straightforward. So I'm not going to dwell on that one because that is fairly straightforward and I think a very positive move forward. Here's the interesting one. for me, it establishes new research protocols. All children and young people being considered for hormone treatment will be prospectively enrolled into a research study. The goal of the research study to learn more about the effects of hormone interventions and to make a major international contribution of the evidence based in this area of medicine. This research will track children into childhood. I don't want that happening at all. Just stop it. Okay? Just stop it. And I think the truth be told, it will be very, very, very few. Very few. You know, rocking or shit. That's what I think, yeah. They then state, SEGM, number 6, reinstates the importance of biological sex. The NHS guidance defines gender incongruence as a misalignment between the individual's experience of their gender identity and their biological sex. The language of the cult is still in there. Right? They're just uncomfortable with their body. Stop fucking about. Right? And there's nothing they can do about it, so they might as well learn to live with it. That's the starting point. See, this is where I get a little bit testy. The NHS... That's a good word, isn't it? Testy. Testy. 1, 2, 3! Right, okay. The NHS guidance refers to the need to track biological sex for research purposes and outcome measures. And what's interesting, that biological sex has not been tracked by GIDS, there they are again, for a significant proportion of referrals in 2020 to 2021. And it reaffirms, number 7, the preeminence of the DSM-5 diagnosis of gender dysphoria for treatment decisions. I think it's about time the UK ditched the DSM and started doing their own, because I don't trust these 8 people sat around a table. I mean, they've even got crap in there like, you know, non-specific depressed syndrome and, you know, painful heel syndrome. Whatever, just bollocks, right? I can't help thinking about the DSM is rather like an Argos for mental illness, you know? The laminated pages of dreams. What have I got? Right, no, see? My psychologist worry teachers and my counsellor worry teachers and anybody involved in psychiatry or anything like that is going to hate me after this. I just think most of it's cobblers, I'm sorry. Right. Gender incongruence, it says, is not necessarily associated with distress. Whereas gender dysphoria is significant distress. Again, the use of gender, it's got to stop. All right, we're supposed to be leading internationally on this, not playing the same game at the party and pin the dick on the female donkey, right? Okay, so let's not do that. But pass the parcel with your packer in it. I won. Right. They're also going to be looking at much broader application of multidisciplinary teams, which is point 8 here about multidisciplinary teams. Wide range of clinicians. I don't want clinicians running it. I've said this before. It will be compromised of paediatrics, autism, neurodisability and mental health to enable holistic support and appropriate care for gender dysphoric youth. Again, the term gender, very worrying there. Then we're into number 9. They're going to come together with primary outcome measures of distress and social functioning. The NHS has articulated 2 main outcomes. These are important for measures of treatment: clinically significant distress and social functioning. That's major, right? Clinical significant distress is a hugely high pole to jump over, and social functioning will take into account the child through time into adulthood and the fact that the acts of doing this nonsense will severely limit their ability to be socially anything, because the demands of the TRAs have got such that people are now going to stop inviting them anywhere. They'll just ignore them, you know, or they'll pretend that they're playing ball, but they won't. And the social distress will become greater because of their inability to recognise that they're seriously screwed up, navel-gazing nonsense of identity creation is going to make them a pariah. It really does establish measures that are far, far stronger, and SEGM point that out in their brilliant summary here. 10. You're getting hormones for your kids? You're transitioning your kids without thinking about what you're doing and talking to somebody? You'll not be supported by the NHS. That's number 10. That's a beauty, right? Families and youth planning to obtain hormones directly from online or another external non-NHS source will be strongly advised about the risks. Those choosing to take hormones outside the newly established NHS protocol will not be supported in the treatment pathway by NHS providers. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. This will lead to child safeguarding investigations. May be initiated. Maybe, not always, but may be initiated. If they've obtained children or young people I'm taking here to mean anybody under 25, have obtained hormones outside the established, under 18, outside the established protocols. We've now joined Finland and Sweden in the approach that we're using, and we are now one of the 3 European countries who've explicitly deviated from the disgusting WPATH guidelines with their eunuchs and I don't know what else was it, otter wanking or something. I don't know, eunuchs and crap they've stuck in there, and I know how we have to be kind to people that like to put eels up their bum or things. We don't know what's coming next year. They've got eunuchs on there. Eunuchs should be treated. They should be stuck in a church and given an organ. Right, so anyway, this will sharply curb it, I think, and that's the words they use there. Psychotherapy will be provided as the first and usually only line of treatment for gender dysphoric youth. Do not underestimate the importance of education in this one, and I don't know what psychoeducation means, and I'm hoping I'll drop SEGM a line, see if they can explain it to me a little bit further. Get out more. Get your kids to meet people who aren't family, right? We'll tell them the truth, okay? It's extraordinary to me that's that's where we now are, and it feels really strange that we are like a sort of odd anticlimax, that it's all going to come to an end in such a way. But it's brilliant news for gay and lesbian children, without a shadow of a doubt, and for all children, if the truth be told, though obviously my main concern was gay male youth and lesbians. So I think we can rejoice at what's happening, but I don't think that we can be complicit. And by that I mean, if you think the hard left QT plus nutters are going to give up without a fight, you're living in Count Cuckoo land. The fight's still coming. Schools, the law, everything I've said before. We still need to keep up the pressure, and we still need to be talking to people and changing people's minds, because this infection is deeply embedded in our society, and the only way that we can get rid of it is for all of us to become teachers, activists effectively, and challenge this nonsense whenever and wherever it comes up. And that, unfortunately for some of us, meant a price before, and for those of you that are sat out there, may mean a price for you. But saving kids is good news, but I don't want this stuff creeping in elsewhere, or us, medicalising children when really what they need is some common damn sense and a bit of good teaching. Well, I've stuck my pole in the ground now. I put up the flag. We'll see who salutes. Other than that, I'm going to go teach. You have a great day. I'll see you later. Bye.